So hello, and good morning from Seattle, Washington. My name is Segura, and I'm the founder of Smash the Box, which is my urban planning and design firm. Today, I'm going to be talking about a really touchy subject. It's also a very important subject, and that is, what does it really mean to defund the police within transportation? And then I'm going to specifically start tying that into what efforts are being done with this movement in Seattle, Washington. Definitely want to say congratulations to TransitCon team for organizing this event. It's your first virtual conference. Aplauso for the team itself. I know you all have done a lot of hard work, and once again, just congratulations. All right. Okay. I want to do a land acknowledgement. I like to acknowledge that I am on the land of the Duwamish tribe. They are the tribe that is located with Seattle and then also in King County. If you're interested in learning more about what tribes are in your area, I would highly recommend checking out this link here, and you can find the map and find your tribe. Actually, let me close this window. All right, there we go. I'm going to touch on YPT Seattle. I am the chair of Young Professionals in Transportation Seattle. It is a small nonprofit which was founded in 2013. We provide professional development, fellowships, and networking. We're also part of a larger crew, right? And that is YPT International, where I'm the chair with YPT Seattle. I was once the director of communications for YPT International. Of course, I'd like to say thank you to our sponsors here. Okay. So before I dive into the juicy content, I want to just give a fair warning or trigger warning that some of the visuals that I'm going to present and or content might not be suitable for people, or just might invoke emotions that aren't that great to have on a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. But I'll go ahead and give fair warning when that does, when I'm about to share that content. My apologies. So this right here is 60,000 people in Seattle, Washington protesting over the summer because of one of the viral videos that happened to be of a Black gentleman, being George Floyd, who was brutally killed by police. And it wasn't just George Floyd's death that had been to spark this protest here, which there are many Black lives that have been lost. I'm sure we all have heard of them. In Seattle, particularly, we had Charlena Lyles, and then I know within Tallahassee, Florida, there was, oh my gosh, my apologies, Tony McDay, there's Sandra Bland, Trayvon Martin. I remember when he passed away. Wow, I mean, there's way too many Black lives that have been lost. All right. So this was, of course, one of the many protests that happened throughout the world because of that. I think this is a great photo, and I wanted to include it within the presentation because it depicts the relationship. It tells a story of the police themselves and their relationship with the community here in Seattle. This at one point was taken when the police were still in their precinct, which happened to be in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. And at one point, the police had ended up abandoning their fort or their precinct, and this part of the city was called the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, CHAZ, and it did not have any police in it. It was police free. Okay, so I can't remember where I got this quote from, but I'm sure it's somewhere in my copious amount of notes that I have on my Google Drive related to this topic. But I'll read it here. Dismantling structural racism within transportation means rethinking how it involves police. I think what the message I'm trying to get here is that when using the slogan defund the police, you can also perhaps say this right here. Really, the end goal is to end police brutality along with end racism. So during that summer, I thought, hey, why not hit two birds with one stone? And I ended up writing a piece for the Seattle Bike blog, which I was very grateful to do. And I wanted to help start the dialogue of understanding how are police involved within transportation. With that, I started breaking it down by mode. So different transportation modes being biking, whether you're in a car or and driving, or taking the light rail or bus and whatnot. Okay. Oh, my apologies. Shit. Or my bad. This is where the trigger warning happens. My bad. All right. So, in 2010, there was a Seattle police officer who ended up punching a teenager, a black teenager, for jaywalking. Of course, this is excessive force that's being used, and it really helps to, I mean, this visual itself in the video really helps to tell the story besides just listing the facts or just, reading the story itself. I mean, these are videos that are out there, and there are countless videos that are out there that haven't gone viral or whatnot. So within Seattle itself, when it comes to data, between 2010 and 2016, there were 26% of jaywalking tickets that were given to Black people, but understanding that at that time, only 7% of the city's population was Black. Right now, when it happens to be within within the city, one of our council representatives, who happens to be the president of the city council, has mentioned that she might even start to think about revoking this ordinance, which is jaywalking. Okay. Back in 2014, this is another scenario where there were two Black teens. They happened to be riding their bike in a Tacoma, Washington mall, and there was excessive force once again used, where this Black teen, she was slammed down to the ground and then also tased. Most recently, Central Seattle Greenways did some research and found that when it comes to Black cyclists, that they are more likely, at the rate of 4 times, be given a citation when it comes to white cyclists for not wearing a helmet. Now, the helmet law in the state of Washington, well, there is no helmet law for the state. But when it comes to individual counties and cities and whatnot, then that's where you have differences. And because of this happening in Tacoma, they ended up essentially banning the law itself. Okay. How about buses? Buses in Seattle. Of course, we are located within King County. So we have King County Metro. Most recently, there was a report done by the King County Auditor, and they found that 25% of all citations and 30% of misdemeanor charges were given to people that were homeless and or facing housing instability. Now, from those citations that were given out during that year, only 3% were paid, and that is most likely tied to, well, the people they gave them to don't have any money. Because only 3% of those fines were paid, that means that King County ended up having to pay the courts out of their pocket from the fees and fines that were not paid. Okay, light rail. We also have light rail in Seattle. I'm looking for high speed rail, but so far we have or light rail. I'll take that. So, Seattle Times found that there was some alarming data out there showing the disparities when it comes to the enforcement or fair enforcement within the light rail itself, and showing that while only 9% of people who ride the light rail or the sounder trains are Black, but yet when it came to the citations and misdemeanors again, it was disproportionately found at a rate that was higher than the most average, and that was given to the Black population. I can also say, as someone who is of the melanin skin tone, Latinx or first generation El Salvadorian American, I can't tell you how many times I have been asked for my Orca card, which is the card that you use in order to get on the light rail. It's just, it boggles my mind that they ask that many times to see whether you are paying the fare. Okay, so that was the article that I wrote. I just wanted to talk about some of the data that helps provide why and why these disparities are happening, right? That there is racism found within the police structure. That's happening within all modes of transportation when it comes to police enforcement, right? So when it comes to community, this is one organization or a work group. It's called Whose Streets Are Streets. It was also formed during the time of the protests last summer, and it's part of Seattle Neighborhood Greenways. I do sit on this board, so I'm really excited that I was able to help out when it came to policy recommendations. So should also note that the Seattle Neighborhood Greenways is a bicycle and pedestrian advocacy nonprofit here in Seattle. Okay. So when it came to understanding, okay, where do we start when we're looking at policies or how police are funded within transportation, we started breaking it down by modes. So essentially doing similar to what how I was breaking down that Seattle bike blog, and started breaking it down by looking at our streets themselves. Now, what I have here are the values and policy recommendations that we came up with as a group. On the left, you have the values. On the right, we have the policy recommendations. The values obviously help to lead to the policy recommendations. When we were putting this together, it was legit an Excel sheet that we had about, I think, 20 to 25 people working on, and just like trying to cite, okay, is this what type of law is this? Is it involving the county? Is it involving the city? Is it involving the state? Because that then determines who's being contracted, or the type of police that are being used for that mode of transportation. So for the values, we look at making sure, well, definitely valuing people first over place over space, meaning that when you lose somebody, you can't replace that person versus the place over space, that place or space, that's an inanimate object and you can replace that. We also value system changes over individual changes. System changes being that we want large impacts for our communities, impacts that are going to have positive positive changes in helping to end racism within our streets, right? And making sure our streets feel safer when we are on them. And then decriminalization of poverty. You can see there with some of the fair enforcements, they actually lead you into perpetually being being impoverished, right? Or essentially, you can't pay the ticket, and then you're put in this cycle where, okay, well, now the fines are accruing. Well, you can't pay those fines, and then you end up, well, not being able to get a house, or maybe it's an apartment that you need, or some type of housing because of all these fines and that being on your record. So the policy recommendations. Oh, sorry, 932. So those are the policy recommendations. Let me go into the next one. And I'll put this the slide here in the Slack channel. And that is the other agency that's working within this movement, and that is the Seattle Department of Transportation, in which they started a committee called Reimagining Community Safety and Rethinking Enforcement. This is led by Allison Schwartz. She is the SDOT Vision Zero coordinator, essentially just trying to figure out, okay, well, when it comes to SDOT, what is SDOT's role within police enforcement? So they formed in October. They've been hosting internal meetings, but they have been including part of the Who Streets Our Streets sport team to come and listen in. They're also, of course, questioning, actually, hold on, the next slide will answer that. But within the meetings that they've been having, they've been also giving presentations. Some of those presentations include the municipal court infractions and legal financial obligation, which they actually started diving into the data that they have that shows the disproportionate rates of traffic tickets and fines when it comes to race. They've also given a presentation on pedestrian law, like breaking it down, every single law that that includes the enforcement with police, but within pedestrians, and then also automated enforcement. Okay, so I took this from Allison. I hope she doesn't mind, but I thought this was great because it provides really the transparency of understanding, well, how are they approaching this, and does it make sense? So as you can see, this is where they're at right now with learning, doing that research, giving the presentations. All right. And for resources, I wanted to put this here because I am all about sharing that data, my research. So I have this here if you're interested. Once again, I'll put the link to the presentation in the Slack and probably the chat right here. And that's it. If you want to ask any questions, I'm not sure if we have time right now, but feel free to hit me up on Slack. You can contact me here by following me or following Smash the Box on Twitter and or Facebook. And just to let y'all know, I'm going to be launching Smash the Box into a larger firm starting in March, where I'm going to be able to hire part-time and full-time, along with having brick and mortar here in Seattle. So stay tuned with that, and I hope you all stay safe and healthy.